Curious about the latest in facial rejuvenation? Join Dr. Patrick Flaharty for a free educational seminar at Azul Cosmetic Surgery and Medical Spa, discussing non-surgical facelift, laser facial rejuvenation, modern facelift, and more. This anti-aging seminar series starts at 6 p.m. on March 12th in Naples. Meet Dr. Flaharty and ask questions after the seminar and receive a free consultation. Trust your face to experience. Reserve your seat now, 239-415-7576, azulbeauty.com.
Good morning and welcome to Look and Feel Your Best with Dr. Patrick Flaharty. Dr. Flaharty is the medical director of the Azul Cosmetic Surgery and Medical Spas in Fort Myers, Naples, and Bonita Springs. And I'm Gina Burch, and we're hanging out this morning giving you the latest information on some of the coolest technology to turn back the hands of time when it comes to your face.
Yes, the field is changing so rapidly, and we've talked about some of these things in the past, but really new technology, new procedures, new products, new techniques are really coming to the fore on a monthly basis.
Right.
And so we always have something new and exciting to talk about that's transforming the field. A lot of these products and procedures and techniques have really changed the way we do things over the last 5 to 10 years, and that's continuing to evolve. And
when people think of a cosmetic surgeon or facial rejuvenation, in the day, they used to always think facelift, surgery. But now, I mean, even though that's like your big passion, that's like just a small segment of what you do at Azul now.
Yeah, facelifts are sort of the gold standard for rejuvenation of the lower face and neck once you get to a certain point. But there's so many things we can do between, when you're young and you really need nothing till you get a little bit older and start needing some of the surgical procedures. And that's where things have changed the most, is the number of non-surgical options to help keep your face looking youthful.
So we're going to talk about some of those non-surgical options this morning and some of the most hottest, the current trends, the things that you're seeing a lot of people come in for and that are really working for your patients.
Yes. And, I always say I'm a natural skeptic. So when new things come out, new procedures, new products, new techniques, I'm always like, oh, yeah, prove it. Yeah, I want to see that first. And so I'm not always, the quickest to jump on the bandwagon with things. But, the things we'll talk about today I've been really impressed with and are things we're doing kind of on a daily basis in our practice that really seem to be working well. And, one of the things I was thinking about as I was putting together this talk, the show today, was, listening to your patients because they're the ones that are going to tell you what they see, what they feel, what they think. So when things, when patients say, oh, I really like that, and I hear that repeatedly about something, then that usually is, okay, this is something that's really got some value to it.
It's a keeper. We're going to put it on the main menu.
Right.
It's not the weekly special.
The people that make devices and, they want to convince us that these are things that are really valuable. And then we in turn can, use these to help our patients. But, it's really that feedback from the patient saying, that really worked. I really like that. That's the most powerful testimonial for me, because that's somebody that's had a treatment that said there's value to this. And that's obviously what we're looking to do, is help the patients.
Yeah, and then they're going to go tell their friends too.
Right.
That helps.
And like I say, looking and feeling your best, right? If we do a procedure and they look better and they feel better and they're happy, that's a win. That's what we're trying to shoot for. So it's good. Yeah.
Well, let's start off with something called the InstaLift. I know this is a big deal, or it's becoming a bigger deal, and it's not something that's brand new. It has some legs in the past. Right.
Yeah, and so this falls under that same category of something that when I first heard about it, it's a suture lifting technique, and I'm well familiar with suture lifting techniques because we've had a number of them come and go over the course of a number of years. And I did a lot of suture lifts back a number of years ago when they had what was called the contour thread lift, which was really a nice procedure. And it's I won't say it's completely non-invasive. This is an office-based procedure, but it's done through you do use some local anesthetic anesthetic to numb the tissue, and you basically place these stitches or sutures under the skin, and they're designed to be able to tighten and lift and support the tissues. So the technique is not new. It's been around a long time and does work well and has worked well. The older threads or sutures were permanent, and that was one of the issues, is that sometimes patients could feel them under the skin, or they would cause, they could feel them with movement of the face. I really didn't have a lot of problem with that with our patients, but eventually that product was taken off the market, not by the FDA, but just by the maker. They were worried about the potential of people having problems down the road and maybe litigation or something. But I found it to be a very safe and effective procedure and product, but then it was just not available anymore. And then this new product came out called the InstaLift, which is a suture lifting technique. So these are sutures that are placed into the face and neck. And the differences with the InstaLift, they sort of address the problems with the contour thread lift in that they made their suture absorbable. So rather than being a permanent suture, just kind of sit in this. And permanent inert sutures are not inherently a problem in the tissue. They're not going to cause inflammation. They're just going to sit there. So that's, permanent sutures are used all the time in surgery, but this suture is made of a material that dissolves, and as it dissolves, it creates collagen, similar to Sculptra, which is an injectable that we use. And so the InstaLift really works two ways, which is kind of interesting. You place these sutures in, and you can tighten the face. So the cheeks, jowls, and neck, those are sort of the three areas. We typically use two sutures for each of those areas. And you will be able to lift and tighten those tissues, which you see immediately, which is great. So you get the instant, feedback from that. But then as that suture dissolves over the course of 6 months to a year, it's going to stimulate collagen production, and that's going to add volume to the face, so that volumizes the face. And so this is one of those procedures that falls into that category I talked about, where, listen to your patients, because almost, virtually every person we've done a InstaLift on has been really thrilled with the results. Right. Obviously, like anything, there's patient selection is important. The key things with this procedure is, it's nice if people have nice skin. They don't have to have perfect skin, but you don't want severe sun damaged skin that's got a lot of wrinkles, because you are lifting the skin and the subcutaneous layer. And you want them to have, an adequate amount of fat under the skin. So, obviously somebody that's really thin with really bad sun damaged skin may not be a good candidate, because that first wouldn't hold the suture well. Secondly, the lifting may not look as pretty, just because there is a lot of sun damaged skin that's moving. But with those things in mind, this is a procedure we do right in the office. I just do some marking of where we're going to place. And the sutures are attached to these needles that are very long needles, look like a... what would you do, when you're doing...
Like a knitting needle?
Like a knitting
needle. But not
needle,
that thick.
But not that thick,
So we're not going to shove a knitting needle under our skin. Exactly.
A very small, delicate knitting needle.
Because this is for people who haven't heard this, and you're talking about the sutures, this can be something that's a little harder to grasp how it works. So, and I know you're about to walk us through that. So you imagine that long, thin, really thin needle.
Right. And so there's actually two of those needles. One that goes in each direction, and those needles are attached by the suture. So the suture is between these two needles. And so we make a tiny puncture wound, let's say on a cheekbone there, and you pass one needle underneath the skin down out by, kind of closer to the mouth, out the jowl area. And the other one passes up under the skin from the same entry point out by the hairline. And then these sutures have these cones, and it's called bidirectional cones. So these little cones that are attached to the suture are also absorbable, but they're, like little cones or bells. And you could imagine if you're pulling those one way with the narrow end of the cone, being pulled, it slides pretty easily. But if you try to pull it the other way, the open end of the cone will catch the tissue, and that's how, it can lift. So you can slide it through the skin one way, but it doesn't slide easily the other way. And so they're bidirectional. So the part that goes up toward the hairline, that's going to not want to slide slide down, so that anchors the suture. And this part that goes down toward the mouth, you can slide the tissue over those cones, because once this suture comes out, the needle comes out, the suture is outside the skin, so it goes under the skin and then it comes out. You can hold that and massage the face up over it, and the face will kind of ratchet up over those little cones, and it traps it, and that's how it lifts and supports the face.
That's got to be a challenge for you, because once you get it perfect on one side, guess what? I got to go to the other, and I got to match it. So, right. I mean, that's a...
So what we do is we place all the sutures first on both sides, and then we tighten them together.
Okay,
and then once you have the face, lifted and supported, and really with these, it's not as difficult as it sounds, because you're really going to tighten to the maximum effect you can get. So if you place the sutures all the same, which obviously you do, and then you tighten the face maximally, it's symmetric. But yeah, we do it all at once. That way you can ensure you have the best symmetry.
Right. And when you tighten the one side, I mean, do you let people look at the mirror and see the difference?
You can do that.
Sometimes
you can show them the difference, one side versus the other. So, we do a little bit of local anesthetic. It's in the office. We, cleanse the skin, and then place the sutures and then tighten the sutures. And then you just trim them off at the edge of the skin, and the sutures just retract. And the nice thing about this procedure, you don't need any anesthesia, no sedation. We just do, a little bit of local. People can go home and resume fairly normal activity. We ask them to be gentle with the face with washing. As you can imagine, those sutures are all kind of under the skin, and they're, tightening the tissue. And so we don't want you to rub your face aggressively or sleep with your, on your face. Just common sense things, just being gentle with it.
For a couple of days, maybe, or
for a couple weeks. We just to be safe, just try to not create a lot of pressure. You can cleanse and wash your face and shower and do normal things. You just don't want to rub the face super aggressively, which most of us don't anyway in a typical day. But so then, that's it. I mean, and with these sutures, you're using a little local, so there can be a little swelling, there can be a little tenderness. If you're unlucky, you can get a little bruising. That's pretty rare, but they just sort of, you sit there and hold the tissue up and then gradually dissolve and create collagen. And the amazing thing is, the patients that we've done, we see them 2 weeks and they're happy. It's great. I'm happy. You can see the lifting in the cheeks. It adds volume, it lifts, it tightens, and they see it instantly.
And it lasts?
Probably a couple years. We've only been using them for a little over a year now, and they've only been available. I think it'll be 2 year coming up soon, not even quite 2 years. So it's a relatively new product, but it's safe and effective and certainly gives you a nice short-term benefit. I'm telling patients 2 years. If it's longer than that, it's even going to be better yet.
Yeah.
But, it's not a replacement for a surgical face and neck lift, but it's certainly something you can do right in the office to give people some lifting and tightening, and patients have been really happy with it.
And that's called the InstaLift.
The InstaLift, yes.
All right.
Yes.
So if you call for a consultation, that's what you're like, I know he was talking about something with a threading. It's called the InstaLift. All right, we're going to take another quick break, or our first quick break. We've got a couple quick breaks we're going to take throughout the course of the hour.
Yeah.
And we'll be back with more of Look and Feel Your Best with Dr. Patrick Flaharty. I'm Gina Burch.
Everyone loves to come to Azul's Medical Spa for the absolute best in skincare. But what can you do for your skin when you aren't able to visit us on a regular basis? No problem. Now you can take us home with you. Our Azul Skin Health products were made in association with Trilogy Laboratories and are developed with cutting-edge cosmetic science. This month, we're selling a package of 5 of our finest anti-aging treatments for over $60 off. It's the Azul Anti-Aging System, made up of our enzyme polish, Rejuvagel Cleanser, Dermal C 20%, Vita A Serum with peptides, and Growth Factor Renewal Cream. The Azul Anti-Aging System is a $340 value, but for the entire month of March, we're selling it for $275. Azul has offices in Fort Myers, Bonita Springs, and Naples for your convenience. To learn more about Azul, visit azulbeauty.com.
You've heard of microneedling, right? It's a favorite treatment here at our Azul Medical Spa. This non-invasive procedure uses tiny needles to create a controlled injury just below the surface of your skin. Your body's natural healing process then stimulates the production of new collagen, helping to soften wrinkles, fade age spots, minimize pores, and give you tighter, more radiant skin. Well, step aside microneedling because we have a new innovation that uses the same principles to deliver an even better result. Microchanneling. Microneedling can result in the skin being pulled taut as the device glides over the skin. It's just as simple and easy as microneedling, but with none of the skin-irritating drawbacks. To make this treatment even better, we add a powerful growth factor serum to the treatment to accelerate collagen and elastin production. It's like a superfood for your skin. Microchanneling treatments start from $350, but if you come in this month, you will get a full 30% off your first treatment. Call Azul today for microchanneling.
Welcome back to Look and Feel Your Best. I'm Gina Burch with Dr. Patrick Flaharty. Dr. Flaharty is the medical director of the Azul Cosmetic Surgery and Medical Spas, where the gold standard of turning back the hands of time is a facelift. But this morning we're talking about some non-surgical ways to do it, to turn back the hands of time, things that are really popular in the office. They're on the cutting edge, and the trendy things, the not just trendy, but the effective and safe things to do to work.
Yes. I mean, technology is advancing so fast, and we just talked about the InstaLift, and that's a procedure that's a suture lift that has improved over previous generations of suture lifts in that it's absorbable and creates collagen as it dissolves. And as I said, the patients have been universally really thrilled with that procedure. So it's been really a home run from that standpoint. Patients really, really like it, and gives you a nice lifting of the cheeks, jowls, and neck. So that's been great, and that's I think one of the great new procedures for non-surgical rejuvenation. Some of those patients we've done are patients that either have had a facelift and are looking for a little additional tightening, or want to do a facelift but don't have the time, or maybe are younger and don't really need a facelift yet. So there's a number of different categories that fits into. But another procedure is what we call microchanneling, and this is microneedling is something that a lot of people have heard.
Right.
And that's a technique where you make tiny little punctures in the skin. And just the act of doing that, stimulates your, whenever you create a little bit of an injury, like a tiny puncture in the skin, that stimulates the body to heal. It tries to fill in that little hole or that depression. And that stimulates the fibroblasts to make collagen, and then new collagen is formed, and that tightens the skin. So microneedling has been around for a while, and people recognize that it has value in terms of tightening the skin and reducing surface irregularities and improving scars, like acne scars for certain. But one of the negatives of microneedling, was for me was, if you do this aggressively, then you are puncturing a lot of holes. People have a little bit of punctate bleeding. They can get some swelling and even not really bruising per se, but just sort of swollen and look a little bit beat up, so they don't really look pretty right away.
It doesn't sound like it's a fun procedure.
Yeah, it doesn't sound
I know
great.
it's effective, but I'm like, oh gosh, you're just going to put a bunch of little holes in my face. But
right, yeah. So there's a new, there's a number of different companies sort of in this field as it's evolved, and we have a technique called microchanneling, which is a new instrument. It was actually developed by a dermatologist, and it's a really elegant mechanics of this, and so it's an improvement over the technology where the actual punctures are made very accurately, and it reduces what we call drag, where you don't get, the needles kind of pulling through the skin, which obviously creates more trauma.
Right.
So it's a very clean entry and exit point with the technique. It's a stamping technique, so it's not, the needles aren't sliding, they're just going in and out, which is good. And then it can be controlled so that the depth of the penetration can be variable, whatever you want, but you can go deep, medium, or very superficial. And so the superficial setting is attractive for patients who have, don't have acne scarring, just have maybe some mild lines and wrinkles and some sun damaged skin, and want to try to tighten tighten up the skin and firm it up, but don't want a lot of downtime.
Right.
And so this, with this technique, you can have a little redness and swelling for the day of the treatment, but then the next day you can put makeup on and be out and about, so it's quite quick.
Since you said there were 3 settings, then the technician would determine which one would be best for your skin. And is it possible that they would use a combination of those settings on your skin?
Absolutely. So the skin on the face is different thicknesses. Obviously, the eyelid skin is very thick. Skin on the forehead or central cheek is much thicker. So they can vary the depth based on which area they're treating and based on your skin type, if you have thick sebaceous skin versus fine, thin skin, and also on, whatever problem they're treating. If it's acne scarring, then they want to be a little bit more aggressive.
Right.
And from treatment to treatment in the same patient, too. So there's a bunch of variables there that you can, factor in as you're doing a treatment. But the nice thing about this is, again, it's just sort of the double benefit. So you have the benefit of the actual needling, which creates this little micro injury, stimulates new collagen. But then we can also add now growth factors to that. And this is a treatment where a potent growth factor is added to the treatment. So once as you're making the small little, micro needling, micro channeling process, you have the growth factor on the skin. So it's sort of driving that growth factor into the skin.
Got it.
And that's very, very elegant. And, one of the things you hear a lot about is PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma. And that's a technique where you draw the patient's blood and you spin it down, and you can isolate certain components of the plasma that we know have growth factors and stem cells, and then you can use that component of their blood in a couple of different ways. You can inject it into the tissue to try to stimulate some improvement in the skin, or you can actually use it just on the skin with microchanneling. And
is that the one they call in Hollywood the vampire facial?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And there's a lot of hype to that. It's true that the platelet-rich plasma does have some, great potential. Some people use it injecting into their joints to kind of stave off arthritis, and people are using it pretty much everywhere now. So obviously they're using it injectables into the face to help improve the appearance of the face. But through bioengineering, many of these, proteins like growth factors, we can isolate and have at our fingertips without having to draw your blood.
Right.
So that makes it a much simpler procedure and cleaner procedure, because you're not dealing with blood products in the office. And so I think, to me, this approach is a better approach, because it's a very elegant instrument. It can create these tiny little micro channels. We can drive the growth factor in, and we can do other things too, such as peptides or vitamin C if we want, the antioxidant effect. And, as we go forward, the topicals are getting better and better. So there's a number of different things hyaluronic acid is going to penetrate better to plump the skin and add hydration. So there's so many things we can add on to this to improve the quality of your skin, and do it without the need of drawing your blood and dealing with all that. And so it's a simpler procedure, it's a safer procedure, and it's a less expensive procedure too, which is appealing.
That's always appealing. Who would be a good candidate for this particular one?
Pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, this procedure works great. It's great for all skin types. It's great for all different types of problems. And that's why that's one of the things I like about it. When you think about traditional microneedling, where in the past I would think about that. Okay, if somebody has acne scarring and they want to do this series to try to help reduce it, that's a good approach. But now, with this, we can go very, very light, and somebody that's just got sun-damaged skin, and it's still going to help, plump the skin, build collagen, smooth and tighten the skin, reduce fine lines and wrinkles, shrink pores. It helps all those things as well as scarring. So, and then you start adding some of the factors to help hydrate the skin or build new collagen with the growth factor stimulation. Those things make great sense. I mean, those things work well topically too, but even better if you're creating these micro channels to introduce the product.
So it sounds like basically then this is going to help smooth everything out. But what now, we were talking about the sun damage. this does not address those spots, does it?
The sunspots.
Or can it?
It probably could help a little bit, but it's not great for that.
Because you have a whole separate tool for that.
Right, we do. Yeah. That's where the IPL comes in, the intense pulse light, which is a non-surgical laser that can lift the sunspots and shrink the vessels. So, this is a great microchanneling is a great tool for improving the texture and tone of the skin.
Got it. Okay.
That could be combined with IPLs to get rid of the reds and browns, and you're talking about using a couple different approaches to the non-surgical rejuvenation of the skin, which works really well.
Right, and that automatically will make you look younger.
Right. And I should add, with the microchanneling, we have a great special because we just got these instruments in all of our offices, just a few months ago, and the estheticians are really thrilled with the results and how things are going. And so we have a 30% off special right now, and
nice.
They can call and ask about that. But it's a very, very good deal. It's a really, really good deal, really good value for what you get for your skin, and way, way less than paying for PRP with a microneedling session, which costs a lot more money just because of the instrumentation and harvesting blood and processing it and all that.
Yeah.
So this is in my opinion, a safer and very effective procedure, and obviously cuts out a lot of the steps that you don't need to do.
So if someone wants to plan on doing this, they've got maybe a college reunion or a high school reunion or something coming up. How far out do you think somebody who's like, oh gosh, I really want to take advantage of this special, how far out should I book something like this?
We like to do this as a series of 3. We know you'll get results with 1 treatment, but of course, you get better results with 3. So the idea is to do a series. So you would want to do it. Ideally, if you were doing it prior to an event, you'd probably want to do it about 2 weeks in advance. But we have some nice photos that just show patient day 1 immediately after the procedure, an hour later. The next, that night, the next morning, and then the next day with makeup. You can put makeup on the next day, but you may, depending on the treatment, it can be very, very gentle, such that the next day you won't see anything. Or if you're going a little more aggressively to help with some acne scarring or whatnot, you might have a little bit of swelling and a little bit of irregularity, for a day or so. But that settles down very quickly. So,
and is this something then that it will improve gradually over time as well? It just gets better,
right? Okay. So that technique obviously is stimulating collagen production, but that's going to occur over the course of several months. So you will see continued improvement as the collagen starts to build and fill in. You'll get some effects starting immediately, but the end result of that is going to probably not be visible for 3 to 6 months.
Right. So let's do it now to get ready for Christmas.
Exactly. Exactly. So, this isn't, if somebody wants to really look good for a big event, and they're saying, oh, gee, what can I do today? Because I've got this thing I'm going to tomorrow. Then the hydrofacial is what I recommend. Okay. That's a really great deep cleansing facial that will hydrate your skin and leave you really plump and looking beautiful. And that's, a great technique. This is a technique that really is designed to try to build the collagen and stimulate improvements in the texture and tone of the skin. And obviously those kind of results take, a few months to see. And so you really, you want to commit to doing, you could do these once a month for 3 months, and you'll see gradual tightening and firming of the skin over the course of the next 6 months. And, and then do maybe a maintenance treatment once every 6 months.
And again, this is called microchanneling. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, let's talk about some other ways to other great technologies that you have here to tighten the skin and improve the appearance non-surgically.
Let's do that.
All right. You're listening to Look and Feel Your Best. We'll be right back.
Curious about the latest in facial rejuvenation? Join Dr. Patrick Flaharty for a free educational seminar at Azul Cosmetic Surgery and Medical Spa, discussing non-surgical facelift, laser facial rejuvenation, modern facelift, and more. This anti-aging seminar series starts at 6 p.m. on March 12th in Naples. Meet Dr. Flaharty and ask questions after the seminar and receive a free consultation. Trust your face to experience. Reserve your seat now, 239-415-7576, azulbeauty.com.
Everyone loves to come to Azul's Medical Spa for the absolute best in skincare. But what can you do for your skin when you aren't able to visit us on a regular basis? No problem. Now you can take us home with you. Our Azul Skin Health products were made in association with Trilogy Laboratories and are developed with cutting-edge cosmetic science. This month, we're selling a package of 5 of our finest anti-aging treatments for over $60 off. It's the Azul Anti-Aging System, made up of our enzyme polish, Rejuvagel Cleanser, Dermal C 20%, Vita A Serum with peptides, and Growth Factor Renewal Cream. The Azul Anti-Aging System is a $340 value, but for the entire month of March, we're selling it for $275. Azul has offices in Fort Myers, Bonita Springs, and Naples for your convenience. To learn more about Azul, visit azulbeauty.com.
Welcome back to Look and Feel Your Best with Dr. Patrick Flaharty, the medical director of the Azul Cosmetic Surgery and Medical Spas in Fort Myers, Naples, and Bonita Springs. I'm Gina Burch, and this morning we're running through a lot of the current trends that Dr. Flaharty is seeing great results on in his offices in Southwest Florida that are non-surgical, and there are ways to help improve the skin, improve the look of
the shape of the
face, everything, you know, and we talked about the InstaLift and how that can lift the tissues and lift your face, and kind of like not a faux facelift, but
no, it's like a mini facelift, but it's non-surgical, and no cutting, no stitching,
right.
In the office, no downtime really. I mean, you're numbing numbing some of the skin of the face, and
right.
You're placing these stitches in, so there's a little bit of swelling, and you've had something done, but it's like a minor procedure, and it gives nice lifting to the cheeks, jowls, and neck, and amazingly, patients love it.
Right.
I mean, it's like I said, I entered this like, okay, let's try this, see how it works. It's pretty interesting. Let's see how it works.
Oh, it sounds amazing.
But
really.
Patients really like it. I mean, I'm amazed. Every patient we do is just really happy because they see the immediate result, and they don't have downtime, and it sort of fits what a lot of people are looking for. So, it's not the equivalent of a surgical lift, and patient selection is important. Obviously, not everybody. If somebody's really got a lot of laxity and really needs a surgical lift, we wouldn't recommend this. But for patients who aren't quite ready for a surgical lift, or have more mild degree of laxity, or have had a lift and have noticed some loss of volume or loss of some of the tone, those circumstances where we're looking for just a little bit of improvement, it's really been a nice procedure. So I think, again, with good patient selection, that's really been a very effective, and patients really like it.
So that's lifting and tightening. We talked about the micro-channeling, which will smooth the skin and get rid of a lot of the scarring and the fine lines and those types of things.
Yeah, texture and tone. And, fine lines and wrinkles, we have great lasers, and we have a lot of other things we do. But again, this is sort of a non-surgical approach just for, prevention and for treating those early sun damage changes or early wrinkling, skin imperfections. It builds collagen, it tightens the skin, it helps with, acne scarring, but helps with just aging changes too, just the mild wrinkles we get with aging and sun exposure. So.
And that's not the only thing you do in the office that helps build and improve and create collagen. You've got 2 other really cutting edge instruments, Excelus and Infini, or procedures, maybe not instruments, procedures.
Well, they both are instruments, and they are, they're radio frequency, and radio frequency is an energy source. So, there's a lot of devices now available to help, rejuvenate the face and body. And, we have a lot of them here at Azul, and 2 of them are both in the category of radio frequency. One's called Excelus and one's called Infini, made by different companies, different ways. So Excelus is what we call transdermal delivery of radio frequency. It has a handpiece that it just rests on the skin, and it will drive energy through the skin, and that radio frequency energy can be heated. And this is sort of a key concept in non-surgical rejuvenation. If you can heat the tissue to a certain temperature, you can create not only tightening of the existing collagen, but you can also stimulate new collagen production, and you can even shrink fat. We know heat, as with cold, can be used to reduce fat. So Excelus is a nice technology for tightening of the skin, as well as gets, some fat reduction. And that's a technology, and it feels like a hot stone massage. I've had it done for my lower face and neck when we, first got the instrument, and to just, experience it. And it starts off really comfortable. It feels like a warm stone, hot stone massage that's being rubbed on your neck. And then it gets up to a point where it starts to get a little uncomfortable, because you have to get it to a certain temperature to affect some change. It's very tolerable, and when you're done, there might be a little bit of redness and swelling, but very little. There's no lingering discomfort, and you can pretty much resume normal activities right away, so there's no downtime. So with the Exilis, which is transdermal, we do a series of treatments, and I'm really targeted this for tightening, lifting, and reducing wrinkles. And for example, patients who've had a face and neck lift but who have some sun-damaged skin will often, see persistent of wrinkles in the neck, not so much laxity, but just the skin itself. So trying to keep that skin, or, to tighten the neck skin or keep it as tight as possible. I love this instrument for that, post facelift, to try to maintain the texture and tone of the skin of the neck and chest area. And it will, we do it as a series of treatments, usually do 6 treatments, one every 2 weeks or so. And then after that, you're going to get this gradual building of collagen and tightening of and firming of the tissue. And then we'll do some maintenance treatments to try to maintain that. And that can be done for, the face and neck, which obviously is a, great interest to me, but also other areas on the body.
Oh, really?
If you have mild laxity of skin of the arms.
Is that like the creping kind of stuff?
Creping, yeah.
Okay.
So, significant laxity of the skin. Obviously this isn't going to shrink it that much, but for mild laxity, so crepiness of the abdomen or arms or, inner knees, just or these areas.
Improves the appearance.
Tightens and smooths and improves the, the skin. So that's been a really nice addition. And then Infini is the other form of radiofrequency, and that's a really interesting device. So that is combines microneedling, similar to what we just talked about, microchanneling, with radiofrequency. So this company, Lutronic, developed an instrument that has microneedles. Those needles are insulated, which means there's heat delivered to the tip of the needle, but not the entire length of the needle. The reason that's important is when you put this cluster of microneedles into the skin and then you hit the button, it'll deliver energy to the tips of the needle. That energy will be delivered at a certain depth of the skin, but it's not going to be delivered at the surface of the skin, because that's where the needle is insulated. So the energy just goes to the tip, and we can control how deep the tip goes, from the deeper parts of the skin to the medium levels of the skin to more superficially. And so that's really elegant, engineering that you can deliver with in like one particular area, a deep pulse of RF, a medium pulse, and then a more superficial pulse. And so you're delivering this radio frequency energy in this plane within the skin at different levels. And that, of course, is a very potent way to kind of create collagen, shrink the existing collagen, and tighten that tissue, and try to improve, lines, creases, and wrinkles. And so we're using this a lot, again, in the face and neck to try to tighten the skin. And you can see not only contraction of the skin where you get some lifting effect, but also smoothing of the skin where you get some tightening of the skin itself and reducing wrinkles. So, it's another powerful device that's done in the office. And neither of these require numbing. You come in, you can have some focal numbing just with some cream, but you don't need injections. You can have the treatment. Exilis requires a series of 6 treatments. It's, the energy's pushed through the skin, so it's a little more gradual. Infini is definitely a little bit more intense, and we usually will offer patients to have a little oral sedative, because the energy settings we like to use to get the best result can be uncomfortable when you do the treatment.
What does it feel like? 'Cause I know in the past you've said rubber band snaps. I don't know if it's this one or another.
That's the rubber band snaps is the IPL.
IPL, okay.
Yeah, and, I haven't had actually either of, I've had the Exilis done, which feels like a warm stone massage. Yeah. That's easy. I have not had Infini done, but that's going to be a little bit more, heat effect. You get this pulse of heat delivered into the skin, so you're going to have that. And, but patients get through it fine. And then we do a series of 3 of those. So it's a little bit, more energy delivered, more potent, a little bit more discomfort, but, quicker results with that.
Okay. And like you said, you could give someone a mild sedative if they're afraid or worried or don't have a very high tolerance for being uncomfortable.
Yeah, we usually recommend that and for patients just to make sure they stay comfortable while we do the treatment.
And you want them to sit still too, right?
Of course, yeah. And we don't, we don't want it to be, torture here. We want to just try to, help them, look better. We want it to be tolerable. And I think, the oral medicines help a lot. It just takes the edge off and people can relax and get the treatment done. And, it's much more tolerable that way.
Any one in particular a better candidate than the other for the Infinity?
So Infinity, we're sort of targeting people that may have some sun damage and wrinkling because that's where, it does tighten up the skin and does improve that. So I would say sort of those mild to moderate wrinkling of the skin, not advanced wrinkles. It's not laser resurfacing. It's not going to give you a new envelope of skin and tighten it up and get rid of all those deep wrinkles. But for mild degrees of wrinkling, it can help. And that's kind of where we're using it.
And then when people get these treatments, it's important to now take extra care. It's important anytime to take great care of your skin, but because we're going to continue to age, just because we had one of these procedures done isn't the magic 8-ball or the magic that's going to solve your skin problems forever and ever, amen, because every day we're on the planet, we're getting older and we're being exposed to sun and all these other things that caused us to get to where we are to begin with.
Exactly. So, sunblock is the most important thing. That's the cornerstone. I mean, there's so many things that are important. Obviously, good nutrition, drinking a little extra water. Those are basic things that I think everybody can and should do. Try to help, stay healthy. And if you're healthier and doing those things, your skin's going to look healthier. But sunblock is super important. A broad spectrum sunblock is key to help prevent the sun damage, which is inevitable down here in Florida. We can't avoid it. You're just trying to slow it down a little bit by using that sunblock and reapplying every 2 hours if you're going to be in the sun. And, really, I find I don't, I like to run, bike, and swim, and I do a lot outside, but I really try to shun the sun as much as I can. I actually swim inside now just to avoid that sun and try to bike and run either early in the morning or, most of the time real early to avoid that peak sun.
But like you said, it's almost inevitable. I was somewhere and somebody looked at my arm and they pushed it. And you know how you do when you see if it's red to see how much sun you have. And I knew what they were doing. And they scolded me. They said, "You've been in the sun." And I started thinking, I'm like, no, I really haven't. I haven't been to the beach. I haven't been. And it was just from standing outside in the parking lot talking to somebody.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You forget about that.
It doesn't take much down here, and especially if you don't have sunblock on. But if you do have the sunblock on, at least getting it on your face every day, it's going to greatly reduce that sort of incidental damage you're getting just in and out of the car during the day.
Let's take another break. And when we come back, I want to talk about one of the things that I find really fascinating. And I know it's something that you love dearly, and it is the liquid facelift.
Yeah, and it's still just growing in popularity. So it's, let's talk about that.
All right. You're listening to Look and Feel Your Best with Dr. Patrick Flaharty. I'm Gina Burch. We'll be right back.
You've heard of microneedling, right? It's a favorite treatment here at our Azul Medical Spa. This non-invasive procedure uses tiny needles to create a controlled injury just below the surface of your skin. Your body's natural healing process then stimulates the production of new collagen, helping to soften wrinkles, fade age spots, minimize pores, and give you tighter, more radiant skin. Well, step aside microneedling because we have a new innovation that uses the same principles to deliver an even better result. Micro-channeling. Microneedling can result in the skin being pulled taut as the device glides over the skin. It's just as simple and easy as microneedling, but with none of the skin-irritating drawbacks. To make this treatment even better, we add a powerful growth factor serum to the treatment to accelerate collagen and elastin production. It's like a superfood for your skin. Microchanneling treatments start from $350, but if you come in this month, you will get a full 30% off your first treatment. Call Azul today for microchanneling.
Curious about the latest in facial rejuvenation? Join Dr. Patrick Flaharty for a free educational seminar at Azul Cosmetic Surgery and Medical Spa, discussing non-surgical facelift, laser facial rejuvenation, modern facelift, and more. This anti-aging seminar series starts at 6 p.m. on March 12th in Naples. Meet Dr. Flaharty and ask questions after the seminar and receive a free consultation. Trust your face to experience. Reserve your seat now, 239-415-7576, azulbeauty.com.
Welcome back to more of Look and Feel Your Best with Dr. Patrick Flaharty, Medical Director of the Azul Cosmetic Surgery and Medical Spas. And I'm Gina Burch. We're talking about some of the non-surgical trends that are just booming here in the offices of Dr. Flaharty. And we've talked about a number of really great things. And I know, I'm glad you saved this one to last, the liquid facelift, because this makes so much sense. And it's a great way for you to be an artist when it comes to reshaping someone's face to look more youthful.
Yeah, it's really sculpting, it's sculpting with injectables, and it's amazing how well this works and how, the popularity continues to grow. Well, that's not really surprising when you see how effective it is, but, this is using injectables, and really what we're talking about is using Botox products, and everybody's kind of familiar with Botox, or the new form of Botox called Dysport. These are agents that basically weaken muscles and thereby smooth out creases. So typical frown line between our eyebrows, if you put a little bit of Botox in there, it'll weaken that muscle and the frown line will go away for 3 to up to 6 months once you've kind of broken the habit of frowning. And the horizontal creases in the forehead and crow's feet, those are kind of really common areas. We also use it in lower doses for like vertical lip lines or to lift the corners of the mouth, or sometimes for banding in the neck. And there's even some other things like shrinking the masseter muscles to change the shape of the face, give people a little bit more, take away the boxy face and make it a little bit more tapered. And even lifting and tightening the jawline. So there's a number of subtle and not so subtle ways that Botox can help shape the face and smooth the skin in a favorable way. But the thing that really made liquid facelift super powerful was the addition of the modern fillers. And these are injectable agents that allow us to replace where lost volume really is the key. And so much of facial aging is volume loss, or what we call deflation. Our faces shrink with age. We lose fat, and so we get the fat pockets disappear, the bone starts to resorb, and even the muscles shrink. So we become, you look at an older face, you look at a young person's face, somebody 10 or 15 or 20, and they have this nice plump full face. And you look at their grandparents, made 70s, 80s, their face looks very thin and gaunt with hollow eyes and sagging cheeks, and you can see the bony anatomy because the fat and skin are kind of shrinking away, and it just exposes the underlying bones. And so much of that is just volume loss, and the most fat is one of the most important things that we lose from the face with age. And so now we have these injectables that can address that. And you can start at a very early age. I mean, people start to notice dark circles under their eyes even in their 30s, and that's really a result of fat loss from the cheek, leading to this descent of this soft tissue, creating this hollow area. So using a little filler to fill in that dark circle kind of corrects that. We see, volume loss in the cheek where our cheeks start to sag. And sometimes people say, gee, I just don't look the way I used to, or I look a little older, I look a little tired. And so adding some volume back to the cheek to lift the cheek makes everybody look younger and healthier. And it's just a wonderful treatment, and it's simple and easy to do in the office. Just a couple little injections, no downtime, and you have this, fuller, more healthy, youthful looking cheek area, which looks good.
And it looks natural too. It's not like an implant where people say, ooh, I don't want it to be so obvious. It's subtle.
Right. And that's a good point. Implants, which I did a lot of, in the early half of my career for the cheek, I really don't do anymore because we can do it with fillers, and fillers are very adjustable, and our faces are changing every day as we age. And so you can put a filler in that could last a year to even 2 years. And then in 2 years, when your face is a little bit different in shape, you replenish that filler in a way that that then better fits that face at that time, where an implant will never change. And so as the face morphs and changes, and that's something I've noticed from the early part of my career, some of the cheek implants that looked perfect for many, many years now look actually a little bit too big because the rest of the face is sort of shrinking around the implant, and the implant isn't shrinking. So it still provides volume, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, fillers are more adjustable to the changes in your anatomy over time, which is appealing. Right.
And, we were talking about the age of when people start to do the liquid facelift and when they stop doing it. It's really something that's timeless. You can do it, like you said, some of the people start aging earlier in their 20s. I even know people in their 20s who started doing Botox, and at first I thought, what are you doing? Are you crazy? But you explained it so well. It's like, well, it's almost like preventive. Yeah. I'm going to stop those lines. I'm going to stop that habit before it becomes a problem.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because, frown lines, they can show up really early, like in college students and certainly medical students, I think that's when I probably got my first frown line, was studying all the time. And, a tiny bit of Botox can weaken those muscles and soften that area and prevent those creases from forming. And so, prevention is the way to go. And a little bit of Botox can prevent many of the classic lines, like the frown lines between your eyes or the horizontal lines in your forehead or the crow's feet. It can work very nicely in those areas.
Because sometimes if you let it go too long, and even when you start doing the Botox, those creases are so deep. Now you're going to have to use the fillers, not just for volumizing the cheeks, but to even out those deep creases, correct?
Right, between the brows especially. If it gets too deep, then you need, sometimes people say, well, I've tried Botox, it doesn't work. Well, that's because their crease is so deep that even relaxing the muscle doesn't solve it, so then you have to put filler in there. But that's the point, is they're synergistic. So if you weaken the muscle with the Botox and then you add the filler, you can eliminate pretty much any crease between the brow. I haven't seen one that we haven't been able to eliminate.
And this is a good way to, if somebody has had a facelift in the past, but they're aging. It was 10 years ago, and now I'm starting to see some things that I don't like or I'm not as happy with. This would be, you don't necessarily need another facelift, but you can do this liquid facelift to help boost it back up.
Right, yeah. So the great thing about the liquid facelift, it's so adjustable and customizable that, you can help really anybody, and I've had patients who, from all ages, 30s coming in for Botox and a little filler for dark circles, or maybe they do a little bit to lift the cheeks. As we get a little older, 40s, you might see more hollowness in the face. We might do a little more volume to lift the cheek. We might fill in some of the early lines around the mouth. We might add a little volume to the lips if the lips have shrunk. And that obviously can be, patients in their 20s too. A lot of younger women want a little bit of enhancement of the lips. And then, as we get a little older, 50s, you start to get hollow temples and hollowness around the eyes. So we can add volume to the temples or, brow area, under eyes, cheeks, jawline. And so it's very customizable, and it doesn't have to be done all at once, which is another great thing. So even if somebody needs a lot, you can do a little bit at a time and build it up over time and customize it to what their, needs and interests are. So it's very versatile and very effective. It's amazing and how much you can do just with injections.
And it does have a cumulative effect, which I think is something important to point out, because a lot of people say, gosh, I don't want to start with Botox because it's going to make my wrinkles worse. I'm going to need it more. And that's not really the case. It actually makes them better in the long term. You just are more attuned to what it looks like when it starts wearing off, right?
Yeah, that's right. It always helps in the long term and the short term. So you're weakening the muscles, that smooths out the crease. Or if you're filling in creases around the corner of the mouth, some people say, well, it's only temporary and I don't want anything temporary. Well, we're changing every day. Our faces are changing all the time. And so, it's not everything is temporary. It's changing all the time. And so the beauty of these things is they are pretty, the Botox and the fillers are pretty long lasting and can, yield really significant improvement. And so a typical interval for me patients would be, see them every 6 months, look and see what they need. Botox really doesn't last, probably lasts 3 to 4 months. But if you're doing it on a regular basis and you're keeping those muscles relaxed, those creases don't come back right away, even when the Botox wears off. off. So a lot of patients can stretch to 6 months, which is good. Economically, they're not doing as many injections. They save money that way. And the fillers last at least 6 months and sometimes a year, 2 years, and some fillers can be permanent, like in under the eyes. And so what we do is we, correct the things, and then when patients come back for a follow-up, which might be at 6 months, we just look and see where they're at. Okay, so they need a little Botox here and here, and maybe you need a little fill here or here, and we do those things, but you don't find you're doing the same thing over and over again, with the exception of the Botox. I mean, obviously that you kind of find a pattern that works and you stick with that, but then the interval gets stretched out a little bit because you've relaxed the muscle. It doesn't come back as quick. The crease stays smoother longer. The skin stays smoother longer. But with fillers, you're stimulating collagen production. These are natural fillers that will build up a little bit in the tissue, and there'll be lines and creases that'll just go away and not come back, and you don't have to retreat those. So that's exciting because it's not like you treat and you get this improvement and then it goes back to zero and you're starting all over. It's not that way. You do see continued improvement, especially in lines and creases around the mouth, these dynamic areas where we're smiling and moving all the time. We're doing things that are creating creases. When you start filling them, you're moving them in the opposite direction. You're softening them, and you'll see them gradually improve, and some of them go away completely, which is really great.
I have a friend that when she gets her Botox, and she says, I will physically put my hand and lift my eyes to put my makeup on, so I won't try to use my muscles to she thinks it's going to prolong the effects of the Botox. Yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but
probably not.
I'm like, hey, you know what? If you can stretch it a little longer and you think that works, then go ahead and go for it.
But the nice thing about these injectables, the Botox and Dysport and the fillers, is they're just more sophisticated. Needles are smaller. The fillers, we use different fillers for different areas of the face based on what we want. In the under eye area, we don't want swelling, so we use a filler that doesn't cause a lot of swelling. In the cheek, we want it to be firmer to lift, so there's fillers specifically for that. In the lips, they want it to be relatively soft, so it feels natural. They have fillers for that. So we have these different classes of fillers evolving with different physical characteristics, all very safe and natural, so no risk of an allergy, but all very effective at rejuvenating these different areas of the face. So it's becoming, like I say, sculpting of the face. We have all these great tools to rejuvenate, the forehead and eyes and cheeks and mouth and jawline, all just with injections. And when you're done with these, you might go home and use a little bit of ice, but you can have makeup on later that day and be out and about, and so really no downtime with it, or no significant
instant
downtime.
Gratification. The Insta-Lift gives instant gratification, or the liquid facelift. Sorry, both of them do.
Both of them do. And so those are, and then patients love it. The liquid facelift is growing in popularity because there's probably not a person that you can't help with that. In some way, shape, or form, just by doing some simple injection to help make the face look better, whether it's a frown line or a dark circle or a crease.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to learn more about any of these procedures we talked about, Dr. Flaharty has a new book out called Young Again. His previous book, Look Younger Now, has some of these in it as well. Or you can just call the office at 239-415-7576 and make an appointment for a consultation, 239-415-7576. Also, get more information online at azulbeauty.com. And that's going to do it for Look and Feel Your Best. Dr. Flaharty, it was great seeing you. Thanks.
Nice to see you, Gina.
And we'll be back with more next week.
That's right. Have a good weekend.
You too.